and he's going to look up the documents and see what's being talked about. So if you're getting your documents quickly into SkySlope, you're giving Scott the tools to represent you properly, okay? So, and I will do the same thing. If you call me up and you say, I've got it, we're having an issue on this property, you're going to see me do this every time. What's the street address? And then I'm in front of a computer 99% of the time. I will look up SkySlope and I won't start talking to you until I'm in your file. Okay, I mean, I'll be talking to you, but I won't talk to you about your question because I can visualize the majority of the forms that we're dealing with. All right? But I have found that when I start talking about it, I think we're talking about this form or this part of the form, and you're talking about something else because we are just not hitting it and communicating perfectly, all right? Doesn't mean you're communicating wrong, doesn't mean I'm listening wrong, it's just human nature. It's better when we're looking at the paper, I say, okay, we're looking at this, we're looking at page 3, we're looking at item 7, all right? So that's what I'm going to try to do. So, that's what SkySlope is. We get documents out of GAVAR or SRAR for the MLS. That goes into SkySlope. We have car forms. If we're the listing agent, we've created a listing contract, okay? And we probably created disclosures and so forth that would be going into SkySlope. We have some market center documents that are created and required to go into SkySlope. What I've left out of here and haven't updated it yet is that you're going to be, if you're the buyer's agent, you're going to be receiving documents from the listing, here we go, seller's agent. Okay, we just changed his name and I'm struggling with the change. From the seller's agent, and they're going to send you stuff, so you're going to have all the documents from the seller's agent that are also going to be put into SkySlope. Okay? Now, you'll see I've got Office TC on each of the lines. You two and the two gals that are TCs would be handling this sort of stuff for their agents, okay? We have Office TCs that will handle for individual agents. So that's in general where all the documents come from, all right? Now that may be old news to a lot of you, but I found that a lot of people weren't understanding where the actual documentation was coming from. All right, very quickly on this page, we are looking at when you signed up, and Adam, I don't even know if we use this form anymore, but we give you a username and password when you sign up. Okay?
Yeah, that's all digital now, but...
Okay,
yep.
So make sure that you all know what your username is, which is an email address, which is your email address, and what your password is. And if you're not sure, circle back around with Adam or Mike and make sure you're on board with that because you need those password and username to get into the documents that we're going to be looking at here. All right. Policy manual, I'm going to just skip over that. Basically, it says you should be coming to my classes and you should work to learn the compliance system. Obviously, you guys approved that by showing up here today. All right, now here's where I'm going to go. If you want to get to this page on your document, on your handout, I'm going to go into my Gmail, which I think I didn't bother turning on. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to want to go to mykw.kw.com, which, oh, I changed page on you, which is, holy cow, Ken, what are you doing? I told you I might fall flat on my face. Is this email address or this website address right here, okay? Now, you may recognize it for those of you that have gone far enough. So again, Now you're seeing that I'm logging in using my login, and you can change it to whatever you want, all right? And then your password, it goes in, and then you're going to get to what you may recognize as EDGE, all right? So, down here, My Market Center Internet. That is your link to the back office, all right? So, if we're talking, if you're calling me on the phone and you say, I'm having trouble with finding this document or that, if it's not a zip forms document, it's going to be here, and I'm going to say, okay, go to the back office and their office internet, and then go click on the link. And this is where we're talking about going, okay? So we click on the link. We click on the link. All right, and then from this point, now all this stuff doesn't really have to do with compliance, but I think it's extremely important to know. The office calendar, this calendar is complete, accurate, and up to date, all right? If something was added 10 minutes ago, it's on the calendar, all right? The risk with the paper calendars is that they start aging the minute they're printed. And so, for instance, if you look at the printed office calendar middle of last week, last Wednesday or Thursday, you'd have seen that today I was teaching a listing class on the listing, all right? So it's changed, it updated, I changed this on Friday, all right? So that shows you that it is going to be current as of today. So I point people to this because I think it's a heck of a good system for you to pay attention to. The other place you want to pay attention to, I have so much stuff open, I'm going to lose everything, is that every morning at about 5 o'clock, you all receive this email, okay? The path to your commission check with Ken Worden. There it is. Okay. So every morning I look at this and I can know what's going on in the market center. All right? And then I can look at what's coming up, because there may be things that I haven't noticed on the calendar. And this sits here and looks at me every day that I can see that and go, oh, that looks like it'd be an interesting class, or that's something I want to know about. All right? So get in the habit of doing this. You can make announcements, the office can make announcements for you in here, so there's some, if an agent's looking for someone to do an open house, we can market that and then put it in here, and then you can answer it and get yourself an open house to do this weekend. All right? Okay. All right, so next thing that is important to know are associates. If you meet someone in the office and you don't remember what we're trying to do is we're getting back to when we came in. This is the first window that opened. We want to go into the market center. What we're doing here now is we're trying to get to documents that I have stored for agents to use in their transactions. So click on documents. You do that, you actually click on documents twice. It's a little strange. Then you get to this list. All right? And I think we're on page 3. We're in 3 pages into the handout now. Basically what I did on that is I tried to do you step by step. So when you draw a total blank, you can go, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing, okay? So then what we're interested in is sky slope information. All these other documents in here are provided for the market center for different information, all right? Insurance, and so forth and so on. Compliance video series, we got some videos that are in there. Very honestly, I don't remember what's quite there. So if I click on the SkySlope information, 4 folders open up. SkySlope documents, compliance video series, transaction checklist, and commercial transactions. We're going to be talking about the first 3. Commercial transactions, just know if you have a commercial transaction, call me. That's all you have to remember. Call me as soon as you know that you have a listing that's going to be a commercial or a transaction you're getting ready to have a client that's getting ready to buy a commercial. Call me. They're all different. We need to go over it, and it's about a 10-15 minute conversation. It's not painful, but it'll get you off on the right track, okay? But when you come in and say, we're closing next week, what do I need? That's when it gets a little painful. All right, so we're going to look at SkySlope documents first. Basically what this is, and some of these, very honestly, I've not done a good job of cleaning everything out, but this is CC submit. When you click on something, it's going to open immediately as a PDF. This is the submittal checklist and instructions, which is in your handout, which we'll be talking about a little later. Okay. So, but each of them is going to open up as a PDF, and you can download them. The review process, input checklist. If you have a transaction that is not in the MLS, or you're doing a listing that you're not putting in the MLS, you're going to want to use the KW MLS exclusion along with the other documents necessary. So this would be the document, and basically you print that out, all right, and then fill it out. So if you don't have an active MLS that you can put in, you're going to have to print this up, or we're going to stop you from going any further. Okay. Without this, this will stop from you getting a TC to be assigned to your file. All right. Now we'll get down to some documents other than you'd use. Affiliation disclosure. This is used when you use either contract escrow or Brokers Express, Mortgage Express. I'm sorry, they changed their name a couple times. And those, the reason we have the affiliation disclosure is that the owners of the brokerage also have some ownership in those 2 companies. Okay? So we have to disclose that to the buyers and the sellers. All right. Going forward, construction defect, which is for houses that are, this is actually up to 2006 now on the checklist. Earthquake hazards report. These are both out of Gabar, but I put them in here so that you're not going all over the place looking for documents. Environmental hazard and safety book. There's a book in zip forms that you can send to your, if you're the listing agent, you're supposed to be supplying this to the buyer, okay? But the fact is that I think very few excuse me, I'm going to get this right yet, sellers agents are supplying this. So if you're representing a buyer, you can get that to your clients, make sure they read it because it's helpful information for them when they're buying a new home. And also, there's a receipt in there, and this is what this is the receipt that they have to sign, and it is required for everyone to sign that. Now, it's also required for the sellers to sign it. We usually have pretty good luck getting sellers to sign it. If there are sellers, we have very good luck getting them signed, but if it's on the other side, we usually have pretty good luck on it. Okay. Local area disclosures. This is Gabar's local area disclosure, which covers all of the Antelope Valley, and I am requiring this from Palmdale to Ridgecrest. Actually, I'm going to Mojave on that. Cal City. We don't go up into Tehachapi and it's not required in Ridgecrest. Okay? So if you have a situation where you're out of that area, then what you're going to do is you're just going to put in the comment section that there is no local area disclosure for that, or you're going to tell your TC so that they can put that in there. Okay?
So that would go for the valley as well, like San Fernando. or-
San Fernando Valley, I've got SRARs, San Fernando Valley and Santa Clarita Valley are in here also, okay? And I will show you when we get to the operations manual, I'll show you how you can actually look up and show you how to check in other areas to find out if you need a disclosure, okay? So here's your San Fernando Valley disclosure, which is SRAR, and Santa Clarita Valley. These both, I've got updated versions of these. Hopefully this month is going to be my month to get caught up on all the disclosures and changes that have happened in our system. People don't stand still, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with them. Okay, next thing that we have is a compliance video series. Some light viewing of videos when you need to go sleep at night or something, I don't know. But there's a couple in here that are very important to start with. Number one is a SkySlope training link, and that is this middle one right here. This was the training that we set up with SkySlope when we originally joined SkySlope, and you started using them as our compliance system. It's a little dated in terms of what the screen looks like, but it is very detailed in how to operate within SkySlope. And I highly recommend that you watch this once. I don't want you watching it over and over again, but you should watch it once to understand how the system works and how you can use it easily. You can go in and fumble around in SkySlope and you'll figure it out at some point. This will lead you and get you there faster, okay? There is a new SkySlope template training video here that they set up last year. It's a little shorter. I started watching it and then I got called away, never went back in, so I can't vouch for how good it is yet. But I put it in there so that if you want to see something that has a little more updated view of what you're actually seeing, you can do that. Then the third one that you really need to watch is the SkySlope, the review request process, okay? And what that is that SkySlope, the way SkySlope works is you put all your documents in there, and SkySlope thinks that I go into all your files every day and look at them, and then I review every new document that's in there. I don't. I can't. There's just no way to do that amount of stuff. So what we have done is we've got a system that basically, when you have a review ready, you send a request in. The request comes in to my email account, and I then work through based on the dates, work from the bottom of the list up, and we keep our reviews current. We do first reviews. We require second reviews to come in, but I don't review them. But that allows us to show if we were to have a quick audit or a question, it shows that all of our second review documents, and second review is the contract. First review is your listing, everything that you did for your listing. Second review is everything that you did to get your contract accepted, okay? So if you're a seller's agent, you start with first review because you have a listing. If you're a buyer's agent, you start with second review, all right? So, third review then is a review that goes to the MCA department, and that's where they work out your commission disbursement authorization, which is what spells out what your check is going to be, okay? Fourth review is the bulk of the documents, disclosures, escrow documents, prelim, all right, NHD report. All those items are in fourth review. And then fifth review is a catch-all at the end, which is basically the final inspection of the house and the final closing statement. All right? So that tells you how to do that review request. All right? I highly recommend, as a new agent, that you don't try to do this yourself. All right? I recommend that you use a TC and let them guide you through it. Or if you feel that you're more high maintenance than my T's can handle, then there are agents or TCs in this office that will do your files for a fee, okay? But right now, as a new agent, you're getting thrown so much stuff right now. Are all new agents, are you all in coaching?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is your head spinning right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for this level on top of it?
Sure. I'm ready for exposure.
And that's good, to have the exposure, but to try to do it also can bury you. And part of the problem too is that when you start doing some of the paperwork stuff, I used to own an automotive repair shop. I had a manager that loved working on cars. And you'd look out on the floor and his head was always under the hood of a car. He was a great mechanic. But the fact is, when his head was under the hood, he didn't see people walking up. He didn't see the customer, the car was being worked on, pacing because he had a question and the manager hadn't acknowledged it. Okay? So I'm not saying he was bad. I'm saying I always was having to chase him back out and away from that. So if you're dealing with sky slope too much, your head's under the hood, right? And you're missing everything else that's going on. And your livelihood depends on knowing all that stuff and seeing everything, okay? And getting that random phone call that someone is looking to use you as an agent. All right? When does those calls come in? Is there a special time? Heck no. Okay? So we can't let ourselves get too buried. And that's where it's really important. And that's where a transaction coordinator can be a lifesaver to you. All right? You're also going to hear a lot about leverage in coaching. Okay? And that's what a TC is. They leverage you. They allow you to spend 15 minutes on a job that over the full life of the transaction might be 4 hours. Okay? That's leverage. That's good leverage. You're not having to spend all your time doing it. So, then what we've got in here are other videos that are breakdowns. So cancel a transaction, communicate. Well, no, this is mine here. Convert a listing to a transaction, create a listing with documents, those sort of things, DigiSign. Those I took the major 45-minute video and I broke it down into 5 to 8 minute segment videos, all right? I felt like anything longer than, I like to target 5 minutes. That's about my attention span to watch a video. Anything more than that I start squirming and I'm not paying attention to the whole thing and I turn it off, okay? So if I'm doing that, I can't expect anyone else to do any better than that. So, but that's what we're trying to do. So please watch these 2 videos and then you can go back to doing the other stuff when you can. And you may say to me, well, why should I learn any of this stuff? Oh, I'm going to have a TC, they're going to know how to do it. Right? Makes sense? So you're all wondering, why am I talking about this? Okay, show of hands. How many of you have ever had an employee or had someone that worked for you that you were responsible for them and knew what they were doing. Okay? If you don't know what their job is, I'm not saying you need to know their job 100%, and you definitely don't need to be as good as them at it. If you are, you're probably doing their job for them. But if you don't know what they're doing, how do you know they're doing their job? How do you manage them? So you need to know this so you can manage your TC. Whether it's someone that is free that the office is supplying, or someone that you're paying $400 a transaction for. Okay? And it's not that you need it all the time, but you need to know that. You need to be able to fly into SkySlope, find a document, and figure out what the problem is with it. All right? And and there are agents in this office that are so heavily dependent on their TCs and they don't know how to do it, that they get into a pinch. It's closing tomorrow. Or it closed today. Let's make it really bad. It closed today. And the buyer's agent just got around to sending us the final inspection. And that final inspection, your file won't release without it. Okay? So, you could take that final inspection and you could email it to your TC. And then your TC is going to take some time because you're not the only person in their lives, whether it's paid or not. And so it might be tomorrow before your document gets in there and your fifth review request gets put in. If you know your way around SkySlope, you'll log into SkySlope, you'll dump your final inspection in the checklist, you'll send, while you're in there, you'll send your fifth review request to me, all right? And as long as you get that done before 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll be reviewing it this afternoon. Okay? So your file could close today, cash check could be in the office, and you still could get it today. All right? But it's being proactive and it's knowing your way around the system. And if you don't know your way around the system, you can't do what I just described. All right? Okay, enough on the videos. But this is, go in here sometime and just kind of click on them, look around and stuff like that. This one here, communications log. I get at least one call a week on what's the communications log, how do I satisfy that in the checklist, okay? Watch the video. It's a very simple solution and it will satisfy that. And just what, I'm not going to go into any more depth than that. Just watch the video and it will answer your question. Also, don't get your feelings hurt if you send me a question and I send you back a link to a video, or I send you back a link to the operations manual, or I cut and paste out of the operations manual explaining you what to do. It's not that I'm trying to slap you on the hand. It's that I'm lazy. All right? I don't type fast, all right? But I'm really good with cut and paste. So I'm going to cut out of the operations manual. And why should I figure out what I've already written? And remember exactly, I don't remember everything I wrote in there. So I go in there, I cut it out, I paste it in your email. Now you have exactly what you need to know. If you hit yourself upside the head while you're reading and say, oh, I could have looked in the operations manual, well, okay, I'll let you do that. All right, but it's not meant that way. It's meant that that's my most efficient way to give you the information. Okay? All right. Next, we're going to click on the SkySlope transaction checklist. These are the checklists for all the different file types that we use in the office. The listing template, we have one listing template for all types of listings. All right? So it's a generic listing. It's a generic listing agreement or lease, and then all the other agency documents and so forth that are required. And then if you see something required over here, look and say, oh, if it's a short sale, I'm going to need the SSIA. If it's a trust, I need the trust advisory, etc. All right? So, what? I apologize in advance if my classes throw too much information at you. And also, if they're boring as all get out. Okay? It's information. I deal with facts. I deal with checklists. I deal with how do we get from A to B. I deal with how do we get our commission check. All right? Because, I mean, you can be an agent because you want to get new buyers into homes and a lot of wonderful things. We all get into this for different reasons, okay? But the bottom line is we all need our paychecks. And we need them now, okay? And if you learn this stuff, and for all of you new agents, you will never be less busy than you are today. Okay? Tomorrow you're going to be busier than today. So if you invest your free time that you have now in learning all the stuff you're learning in coaching, plus all this, you got a full-time job. You probably got 60 hours a week job. Okay? But if you do that, you're going to come out the other end when you get your first buyer or your first listing, and you're going to fly. And you're not going to fall all over yourself. And when that thing closes, your check's going to be here, and you're probably already going to be waiting for it because you have everything done. It's very easy and it's very possible to have an okay to release before your check gets to the office. All right? So, that's your target. And I do not say that for you agents that have been here for a while. I'm not saying that to say you're not doing a good job. That's not what I'm saying. I'm throwing that out as a challenge to you. All right? And as you new agents get further along, that challenges you to you too. You should challenge yourself to always be done ahead of time. Because it sucks when your check is sitting in this office and you can't have it. Okay? Also, if, this is a great time to bring this up, if your check is sitting in this office and you're still struggling getting a few things done, call me. All right? And say, hey Ken, I got a situation. All right? We all have lives that we live. All right? I walk into this office and I go in the MCA department and I say, have you cut my check yet? All right? You guys are not alone. There's crap that happens in our office. All you need to do is contact me and we'll work it out. Especially if you're someone that I already know gets the file done every time. Okay? All right? I will take care of you. But I will track it and I will also expect you to finish it quickly. And if you finish it quickly, then the next time you have a problem, guess what? I'm going to take care of you again. But there's agents that do that, don't take care of it quickly, and then come ask me again, you know, we had a real problem last time. Why? What makes this any different? Okay? I'm not a bad guy. I really am not. All I need you to do is communicate with me. And I'm not writing a book about everyone's problems. I care about your problems, but I'm not going to share them with anybody else. Your life is very private when it comes to that. Your check is very private too, other than the fact that I have to approve it. Okay? All right, I'm getting off my soapbox, going back to teaching again. All right, so otherwise, so we've got listing, we got the residential 1 to 4 units. That is the template, the checklist that you're going to use 95% of the time. All right? And even if you make a mistake and you have a, we'll call it an REO, and you accidentally use the 1 to 4 unit, we can still use it because I put everything in the 1 to 4 unit because people kept clicking on that. So I kind of, it's a catch-all, it's longer than everything else. The only problem is it won't show the required documents exactly right, but we still can make it work. Land is a separate template. Lease, if you get a lease, and I'm working with Scott on this, we're trying to clean this up. It's too much work. I'm the first one to tell you, what we're requiring for a lease in the template is too much work. So, as soon as you're dealing with someone that you may be getting a lease, either representing the owner who's trying to lease their property, or the other way around, right now I would suggest give me a call and let's figure out what you need to make it work.
When you say lease, are you talking about someone who's looking for a storefront or
Or rental of a house.
rental? Oh, okay.
It could be a commercial rental of a storefront, it could be a commercial rent, or it could be a residential rental of a house. Okay? Manufactured home. Manufactured home, if it's in a park, we use this template here. If it's a manufactured home sitting on land and being sold with the land, that is single family. Okay? So you're going to use the 1 to 4 unit residential. New construction. New construction, this is for new construction where your client is buying from a tract builder. Okay? And your client found the home not in the MLS, but they found it by going to a model home complex. If it's in the MLS, it's going to be a single family. It's not, even though it's a new construction, it's going to be 1 to 4 unit residential. Okay? Probate, that's when someone dies without, they have a will or don't have a will, but they don't have a trust. REO or auction templates, and trust, okay? Those each are separate documentation. And then we have a commercial checklist, okay? If you get a commercial transaction or a listing,
Call you.
come and call me, yes. Each commercial transaction is different. So when you say, hey, what do I need to do for a commercial transaction? Let me tell you the same thing I told you right now. Come in and talk to me and let's figure out what it is and let's figure out what you need. I'll ask you questions, I'll figure out what the transaction is, and then we'll make the checklist 10 complete for you. And basically what I do is you can come to me when you have a listing. We will go, I print out the generic one and then I start writing notes on it. And then I scan that and I'll stick that back in your listing so you'll know what it's going to look like when you get to, actually also so I have it so I can go back in and set up your transaction once you get to that point. Okay? All right. So that is the end of that, and I'm probably talking way too. I'm looking for my glasses again. What a surprise. Oh. All right. So now we've covered how to get through the back office stuff. So now we're on to, should be page 10 of your document. Starts with TC Expert Transaction Liaison. That's a fancy name for a TC. So we have in the, I've kind of circled around TCs for a while. There's a lot of different levels of TCs. We have some TCs that are located, they're virtual TCs, they're located in the Philippines. They work the same hours that we work here in this office. They will process your file, they'll upload your documents, they will try to keep an eye on what items are needed. They will review, they will set up your SkySlope file, they will request your reviews, they will send you requests reminding you need things. They also, which I believe slightly puts them to an advantage, is that we have a system set up that they will request reviews on certain time frames, okay? So, and in fact, the new time frames that the office is following, they're still about 3 days faster than that. So they request fourth review at 17 days. In the office, you have to request them at 20, okay? They will request, if you have to do a secondary review, because your first time you did a fourth review didn't pass, then they know when your close of escrow date is. They have a tracker that backs them off 7 days prior, and they're going to send for fourth review again automatically on that date, whether or not all the documents are in there. And then you're going to get an email telling you you got that sent. So now you go, oh, review was just sent in. I still owe this, this, and this, because I went into SkySlope and I looked at the list. And so now I'm going to send them down to my TC, and they're going to be there when Ken gets around to looking at the file, okay? So they can help you that way too. Now, the negative side is that they cannot call the agent on the other side. Everything we do is by emails. So you end up you still have all your communications with the cooperating agent on the other side. You're going to always have to do that. You're going to have to get your signatures and so forth. Now, there is one gal that runs a TC operation up here. Her cost is about $400 a file, okay? But she flat out does pretty much everything. She's a broker, so she probably knows more than half the agents that she's doing files for, okay? But she can handle pretty much everything. She handles the agent that walks down the hall dropping stuff behind them. She's that person that picks it all up, gets it handled, gets it in the files, okay? I've seen agents in this office that couldn't get their checks to save their lives. They started using her, and I never hear a peep of a problem about them again. And their checks are always given to them on time. She's just that good, okay? So the reason, and I'm not trying to market her, okay? But what I'm doing is I'm giving you, there's, the Mercedes-Benz, the Cadillac, whatever you want to call it. My TCs are not that. It's a good Chevy or a Ford, okay? All right? They do a great job. And as a new agent, when money's always critical, but when money is important, they're a great way to get started. Plus, on top of that, they're going to lead you through the system. We've got a very visual system. Part of what they do when they send out the fourth review, or any review, they're going to send out a second email to you that basically is a print of the checklist in SkySlope. So you don't even have to go into SkySlope to see what was in the file at the time the review was requested. Okay. So a lot of stuff that they will do, and I used to tell everyone, do a couple files yourself first to learn them. And I have had it pointed out to me many times in the last 2 years that you're better off doing it the other way around, and I believe that all those people that were telling me that are right, that because the TCs will lead you through, and if you sit there and watch them do it, I'm not saying you have to sit there and watch everything they do, but you kind of keep an eye on the file and see when things are happening, you're going to learn it without even trying. You're just gonna be there and along for the ride, but you'll learn it, okay? So, if you want to use one of them, actually, I think, Adam, this is signed by everybody now?
Yep, on onboarding. Yep.
So everyone that is in this room has signed one of these. And basically what you're saying is that you're aware that we're following the compliance operations manual, okay? And it may change. They're saying that you and the TC will cooperate. And we're also saying that ultimately the agent is held responsible to supply complete and correct documents, okay? So please, if there's a problem with the TC, tell me about it, because I want to make them better. But remember, you as the agents are the responsible party. And if you're paying for a TC, same thing. If you're paying that gal $400 and she messes up, it's still your problem. I'm not going to call her and yell at her. I'm not going to call you and yell at you. I say, you need this kit. Okay?
Who's the girl?
I should charge her for advertising. I can tell you that after the class. Okay, so the other thing is that we have some time limits. And this is another place where a paid TC probably responds a little quicker, and that's because of the sheer numbers that we work out. Listings, transactions, and all disclosures, you send an email in, and it can take up to 72 hours for them to process that email, upload it into SkySlope, and then send out a review request if that triggers it based on documents coming in. Okay? Okay to release, meaning you've got a fourth review being approved. The okay to release, they will get the documents in within 24 hours, and they tend to do those faster than that. So they watch their emails and they know which files are going into fifth review. Okay? The other thing you can do is when you're sending a document that's going to affect your fifth review, send it in and say, please request fifth review ASAP. Okay? All right. Request for a TC assignment. Okay? What you're doing here is you're sending an email to the KWAB TC department and you're requesting a TC be assigned, all right? So, basically what we're going to do is you're going to write an email. You're going to find your email. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just go in and show you an example because I'm running slower than I should be. Oh God, I'm in the wrong spot. Okay. Looking for one that I know is probably going to be right. Okay, so this is a request that is being sent in. Let me go back and forth here. All right, so, and this is where I was kind of worried about bouncing around. I'll get better at it as I teach this class this way. So what we're going to do is we send an email to the KWAB TC department. And if it's a listing, we're going to put in the subject line the full property address, the agent's name, and listing. And then we're going to attach the AD, the PRBS, the residential listing agreement, property profile from a title company, and other exclusions and advisories that you used during that listing. Okay. So what that looks like on a request email is right here. Now, I would like the full address. I am not going to kick, we don't kick it back if you don't put the city and state and zip code, okay? But I'm asking you to do it. Then you're going to, then in this case, it's a transaction, and then Michael Watson is the agent, all right? It can be in this order, it can be transaction, could be at the end, the way I showed it on my request and so forth. And then they've attached, this is a counter offer, and so there's a counter offer. Come on. Forget it. Counter offer, the offer itself, some addendum that was used, protect the HID for the home inspection, and that was the addendum for some reason, I'm not going to get into it, and the MLS printout, right? Make sure you're supplying the agent copy, not the client copy, because the agent copy shows us the commission and shows us the agent who is listing the property, okay? These are things that I need and look for, and it has more detail that I'm looking for, and full agent detail, because I need all this information. Yes?
I have a question on that. I remember in the SkyDoc it says status active, but it says pending this one. Is there a...
If you use a pending one, the world's not going to end, okay? But I do recommend, as a buyer's agent, when you write an offer, at that time you should make a copy of the MLS printout. Because that's your tool, that if all of a sudden the agent changes the MLS, you got to go, boom, right here. This is when I wrote the offer, okay? So you should have best practices say you do. But if for some reason you don't, the pending version of it will work, okay?
I also have a question.
Yes.
Will you reject it if the agent on the MLS is different than what's on the fully executed contract?
Very honestly, I don't think we'll catch it
Okay.
at that point in time. We'll catch it when we start processing it. Is this where there's co-agents or something?
Yeah, I guess the person who originally listed passed away, and I guess somebody else is taking over, so...
So what am I going to be asking you for? What happened? Tell me what happened. Tell me why the name is different.
Oh, okay.
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 There should be something, and there should be an actual document that transfers the listing from the old agent to a new. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And if that brokerage is doing their job right, it should be transferred, and you should be actually able to go in and look at it again, and you should have a corrected one with, and it may not be in there when you write the offer, but
When
if you go back in, you say, oh, well, he's taken over. You know, why isn't it in the MLS? Why doesn't the MLS know? Should I call the MLS and ask him why he's not in there? That's just me. Okay, so here's your MLS. Property profile. Property profile. Have all of you talked to a title company representative and got set up with them so you have access to title information on properties?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure that you have that, and if you don't, talk to Adam and he can help you, point you to a couple. There's multiple title companies, okay? He can point you in the right direction. But all of them, the one thing that they all have is a websites that you can log into the website You can type in the APN number or the street address and so forth, and you can look up that property. So that will give you information on who the owner was of the property. So this property here is, where's the owner on this side? Margarita Torres. Okay? And it's important that we know who the owner is and we know the ownership. This is a single person where it's not being owned by a trust or it's not being an LLC or anything like that. Okay? This is not absolute. It has its faults. If you have more than 2 sellers, it's not going to list them all. If it's a trust, all you're going to pick up is the letters TR in there. That's going to be your hint that it's a trust. Okay? But we use that to get us going and to make sure that we're requesting all the correct documents from you. Okay, now you're gonna send that email in, and we assign those to a TC at about, let's call it noon every day. All right? But as soon as you send it in, you're going to get an auto response back. I'm not going to go through this, but this, if you read through this a couple times, it'll remind you what we're looking for, okay? And it also may remind you before we even had a chance to assign it that you forgot something. And I see probably once a week, we see the same address in there twice where the agent has read through this, realized they forgot something, and sent it in again. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But this is a good way to remind you, and we tell you some of the things that were typically done wrong, okay? And then this gives you a recap of the request process again. All right. So you are going to get, in response, we're going to assume right now that you did a great job and you got everything correct and we can assign it. You will get an email You're going to get an email that looks like this. Okay, thank you for submitting. Lawrence is your transaction coordinator on this. This is her email address. Forward your escrow officer contact information and escrow number to this TCSAP. You will need to send all further communications and documents to this TC email, this one here. Emails sent anywhere else will be returned, okay? And they're not going to go anywhere, okay? So you basically make sure that as soon as you have a TC assigned, you start sending everything from there. The one other thing that I did, it's in there but I didn't really mention. Let's say you're a listing agent. Let's say that you never requested a TC. You were going to do it yourself and you're planning on doing it, and then all of a sudden you change your mind, you want to use a TC. But you all of a sudden have this listing sold. It's in escrow. So you have not only all your listing documents, now you have your offer documents, now you've started collecting all your escrow and disclosure documents. If you do that, you want to send in for a listing request only, and only send the listing documents. Don't start sending the contract, don't start sending prelims and opening escrow instructions. Just send the listing. Now, if you're the buyer's agent and you got the offer accepted, but you're going a little slow at requesting a TC and you've started getting escrow instructions and all those other documents, don't send anything more than what is on our list for the transaction, which is basically the AD and the PRBS for you new agents. Those are both agency disclosures. The RPA, residential purchase agreement, the property profile, wire fraud advisory, and then any other counteroffers, addendums, and advisories are documents that were pertinent to the accepted offer. Okay, so if you had counter offers, or if they sent you an addendum clarifying something, or there's solar on the property and they sent you the solar contract that they have on the property, something like that, you can include all those things. But don't supply anything else. Wait till you have it assigned, and then you can start immediately sending all those documents down to your TC. The reason for this is for us to be efficient and do the volume that we do, we need to keep the number of documents that the TC has to process right off the bat to a minimum. So they're going to set up SkySlope for a transaction. They're going to put these documents in, and they're going to request second review and get it done. And then they'll circle back around and they can start handling all those other documents. If you have this big old long shopping list of documents, what's going to happen is they're going to do all these because they need to get it done, and they're going to say, oh, I'm going to go back and do it. And guess what? Some percentage of the time they're going to forget to go back and do it, and your documents aren't going to be there. All right? And you're going to say, I sent them, but they were part of that original one. So, and the problem got bad enough that we're kicking back the request if we have too many documents in there that don't pertain. All right? Out of fairness to you as an agent, out of fairness to my TCs. Okay? Make sure that the documents you send are PDFs. Okay? Be careful. How many of you use Google Drive to store your documents? And you're in good shape.
They're going to now. They're going to. They raised their hand because they haven't yet, but they said that they're going to. Okay,
and that's fine. I'm not saying don't use Google Drive. But when you go into Google Drive, see if I can do this quickly, or if I can make a total mess of things. I thought I had some in here that... Okay, I'm not going to waste everyone's time trying to find something that I can't find. Here we go. So, if I were to take this file and I wanted to attach it to my email, if I go in here and I click on it and then I say, make a copy, and I copy this and I attach it to my email, what I'm going to get is a link to Google Drive. Okay? And my TCs don't often open links. So what you truly have to do if you're using Google Drive and you need a document, you're going to download the document, and then it's going to put it, and you're going to put it in your temporary file, okay? And then you're going to go into your temporary file and attach it to your email, okay? So it sounds like a bunch of work, but if you know that that's what happens, save your documents, keep them on your computer, and also use them, keep them on Google Drive as a backup. Okay. There are, if you use Microsoft's cloud system, it syncs, my documents all sync between here and the cloud. Okay. So I work on my computer and they're on the cloud at the same time in both places. All right. And by the way, the documents that I share with you each week are off of that cloud. Okay. Getting off track as usual. All right. So you got the email. We showed you what that looks like. Okay. So for jamming along, we've got 4 or 5 transactions going, we've got a couple listings. And you know that Ken is randomly, based on workload, assigning those TCs to files. So now how do you keep track of which TC is handling which file? It's a fairly simple solution. What you do is you create a new, and this is Google, a Gmail. You create a new Google, can you guys see that? It's kind of small, isn't it? Well, I think I made it real big. God, Ken, come on. Okay, so you're going to create a new contact. And the contact is going to be the street address of your property. So 1234 Main Street, Palmdale. Don't put in your client's name. Don't put any other names in here. And then you're going to put the TC that is assigned to do the work on this. So this was the gal that we saw on that, who was assigned on that file I used as an example. You put her Gmail address in there. Excuse me. So now, I'm driving down the street, I'm not in front of my computer. I've been waiting for some documents from the agent on the other side. They finally get around to sending them to me. I'm in a rush, I don't want to forget them, so what do? I look on my phone, I make sure that the documents that he or she sent me are what I was expecting, and that they were signed, okay? And now all I do is I'm going to do a forward, so that the documents stay with the email, and then I don't remember my TC. So in the send, I start typing in 1234 Main Street. That contact's going to come up. I click, that's the one I want. It puts the email address in there. I can put any comment that I want to send to the TC. I hit send, and it's gone. Okay, and before I get back to the office, the TC has it, and the TC may already be working on that document. Okay? Because when you get back to the office, you get hit with 100 other things, and you got all these other things you're supposed to be doing. Well, you just handled that portion of your job out on the street. Okay? And I would recommend, even if you're not using my TCs, if you're paying for a TC, I recommend that you still use some sort of system like this. If you're paying a TC, have a system where you know and just send this stuff down to them immediately, all right? Make sure when you're sending emails that you do have the property address in the subject line, okay? It makes it so we can find documents, we can't misplace them, because even if we put them into labels, but the fact is that stuff gets misfiled, okay? But if you put the street address in there, you can find it. I don't have any idea how many files that I have in my compliance email. But when someone needs something, I can type in that street number and I can find it, okay? So it's very here in a minute on the review request process. We've kind of talked about this. This is page 16 of your packet. And we already kind of talked about it. First reviews are listings. Second review is purchase agreement. Third review goes to the MCA. Fourth review are your disclosure documents. Fifth review is the okay to release. And then each of these within that tells you who to send it to, what you need to attach to the document, what you need to put in the subject line, okay? And this is critical, the first 1ST review, 2MD review, follow that format. Because what happens is, you go into my Gmail, my compliance, and if I'm looking at fourth reviews, these have all been dumped in here because they all say fourth review in the subject line, okay? And they all are in there, and then I work from the bottom up on doing those reviews, okay? They come in, I know what date they came in, and I know what date I'm processing out of, okay? Today it looks like a disaster because I haven't even started looking at that life yet, okay? So it's important you do that. Now, if you want to send, and this is the same Gmail account that I use for everything, so if you have a question, send me a question, put in the street number, 1234 Main Street, but don't put in fourth time I've asked for this, or first time I've asked for that, because if you do, it's not going to be in my inbox, it's going to be in my fourth review. And I've had times where I've been waiting for something that hasn't come in, and what they've done is forwarded something that said fourth review on it or something like that. So,
If we
try
have
to
a que-
remember that.
If we have a question, can we just put question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have a question regarding a specific property, do that, because then I can always go back and we can look at what we talked about in our communication back and forth. And I cannot possibly remember all of our conversations and all the subject matter we talk about, okay? I do pretty good, but not all the time, so. All right. So I'm not going to beat up this review stuff, read through it. If it's not making sense, give me a holler and I'll talk to you about it a little more. The schedule. Okay, we're going to go over the schedule and then we're going to go over SkySlope. And realistically on SkySlope, watch the videos, make sure you can log in. I'm not think I'm going to even spend the time making you go through that today. But what I do want to go through real quick, and then we'll be done, is that every Monday I send out an email to you all. Okay. Well, this was last week, but whatever. So you get an email that looks like this, and it basically says that there's a link to the for the week of 1/28, which was last Monday. And then it's going to tell you that it has the schedules, compliance operations manuals. Oh, jeez. Current updated compliance operations manual, upcoming compliance training classes, video series, and handouts. Okay? And to get that, all you need to do is click on this link. And it's going, I apologize, I can't stop those. So, what you now hit is the operations manual, which we've discussed a little bit, and I'm not going to go into it, but I really would request that all of you guys open it up, take a look at it. It answers a ton of questions about all of the rules and regulations that we follow, okay? And if you read through something there, especially no, I'm not even going to go in there. I'll take a bunch of time that we don't have. Second, we have the review schedules, and we have for this week, next week, and the week after. I'm giving you 3 weeks out so you can kind of make a plan, okay? So, what this is saying, today is Tuesday the 5th. That means should have had by this morning, I should have had January 30th requests done, okay, and back to you, okay? If you've sent something in on that date and it hasn't been responded to and it's not something that's further out, send me a text, give me the address and say, hey, this is getting ready to close. Or do you have this? Can you take a look at it? Not a problem, okay? But this will kind of allow you to plan yourself out. And if you start looking at this, what you're going to see is that for something that is closing, let me get this right. This was sent in on Monday, being looked at on Friday. So if you have a file that's closing next month, the Monday after, realistically, you had to send it in on the Monday prior to timely get it requested for fourth review. Okay? All right, and then you look at the next week, and then the week after that, and part of what I'm showing you is that on the next week of President's Day, I don't do reviews when the office, or when the recorder's office is closed. Okay? It's the only time I get breaks, so the offices let me not do reviews on those days. The office may be open, but I'm not doing reviews on those days. So, but because I'm giving 3 weeks out, you can kind of plan ahead based on that. All right. Okay, and then I'll put a new one of these in. This is this month's, showing the classes going forward. All right, and if you forget my contact information or whatever, it's in there. And then the videos, I've got 4 videos in here for the 4 classes that I've taught over the last year. This one is a video of this class that I taught today. This, number 2 is the residential listing agreement. Number 3, this is the email that I sent out on Monday. It's not in your packet. Number 3 is the residential purchase agreement. And number 4 was a disclosure. And basically, I go down the checklist, okay, and talk about different disclosures. Unfortunately, as busy as I've got, I don't have time to try to teach those and keep up with everything else I'm doing. Those aren't bad videos. Basically recorded is this one here. The sound effects should be better on what we're doing now. But those would allow you to watch and learn a lot. You can really, in a way, it's probably better because you're not sitting for 2 hours. You're sitting for an hour, 15, you can watch 30-minute segments of it, something like that. Now, what goes along with these videos are the handouts. So here's the handout that you have today. Here's the handout for the listing. And here's the handout for the PRVS. So you could basically, or for the residential purchase agreement. So you could just go in here, click those, open it, print it, and then watch the video. Okay? All right. I think that's all. I've already gone over my time. I knew I was going to have some problems the first time I tried to do this. But can I answer some questions? Lead guys in any directions?
I do have questions.
That's good.
Okay.
Questions are how we all learn.
What happens when we have everything but one document on the for review? How do we request for that to be seen again? And let's say, do I need to ask for a for review again? Or just as the 5th review in that?
If you get,
I'm having a case that it's closing today and then, or tomorrow, and the other agent is not sending me a document that I need.
okay, hold on a second. What the heck did I just do? How do I close that?
There you go.
Okay, what's the street number?
3560. I can't remember. I don't have my phone. It's Oleander.
Oleander?
Oleander. Yeah.
Okay, this is, See, now this is good. The question was asked, when you call me, know the street number of the property that you're gonna ask me about. Okay, because I'm always gonna ask you that, Oleander. I'm not spelling it right.
It's L-E. O-L-E.
L-E.
8560 is, yeah, that's it. I know one document is not there yet.
That's fine. Okay, now in your case, you're gonna always wanna look here at this first section. Okay? And what this is telling you, fourth review, due to the number of documents missing or required corrections, you will need to resubmit for fourth review again before
Which I
requesting a
did,
fifth.
yes.
Okay. So you've already requested that?
Yes,
Okay, and,
on the 30th, so it's gonna be done today. But I have a document that it's not ready, so what happens with that one?
okay, let's look at that
That's my
document.
question. On the avid for, my avid that to be signed for him, from the other agent.
Okay. So, you should put your avid in there, even one signed,
Okay,
okay? Because right now, it looks like we have nothing.
exactly.
It looks
Yeah.
like you didn't even do it.
Exactly.
So at this point in time, if you have that in there, then I'm looking at that and I know what your problem is, number one. And then make sure also you started your process of requesting and having emails requesting that to be signed. Okay? Because worst case, if that agent never signs them or never gets them signed, then you can show 3 requests over 8 days for that. Okay? So it's important that you have that because we do not control the agents on the other side of a transaction. As much as I'd like to believe we can, we can't. But what we need to do as an agent is we need to do everything possible to show that we've done our job. So in this case here, and I'm not picking on you, Stanley, I'm gonna just use you as an example. You've got your copy signed by you and your clients, okay? You have requested 3 different times specifically for your AVID to be signed. And you've uploaded the PDF copies of those emails into that section, okay? And if you have those right now in there, and I see that it's closed or we're about ready to close, I may very well accept that at that point in time and accept this item and you'd be done with it, okay? So we're not in the business to slow you down, but we're in the business of making sure that you're doing your business so that if it turns into a complaint or a lawsuit or whatever, we can show that you as an agent were extremely professional, did everything you could to get the document, okay? And there's gonna be times, you can't control it, so. But control your world to 100%, all right? If you do that, you're gonna have no problems.
And another one.
Okay.
Okay, when a transaction is canceled, how do we get this to be out of Skype so we can,
So it's one of your listings.
it was a purchase, yeah, it was representing the buyer on that one.
So you just want to get it done with.
Yeah, because it never went through, so we cancel.
So, and you got a cancellation?
Yes, on one, yes. On the other one, we had a big trouble with the client, and we couldn't get anything done. And the other one, I don't have the cancellation.
Okay, it's not the end of the world that you don't have the cancellation, but you should try to get it. What you're gonna do, do you know the street number of either of those?
4042 East Avenue R13.
Okay. So,
That's the one we don't have the cancellation.
Okay. So if you get a cancellation, you want to put it right here under 235 cancellation of contract. Okay? And then what you do, is you're gonna go back out to your main screen. You can't cancel it from within it. Go out, you do manage transactions, or manage, go to the right spot, kid, come on. Go to manage transactions. By the way, this screen, that screen that you saw is in a different order than your screen.
Yeah, because you're,
Yeah, because we have to go really different,
Yeah.
yes. So, and then you're gonna type in 40,
42.
42, and there you are. And if you just have a short list, you may just see it on there and then you can click on it. But if not, click on search, comes up, okay? So this one, you're not getting anything, right?
No.
So what you're gonna do, is you're gonna come over here to the right, hover over that, it says cancel transaction.
Okay.
You're gonna cancel the transaction. You're not gonna have this fully canceled right here, so I'm not gonna check it, but you're gonna just click submit, and it's gonna go away. Now, it's going, the office is going, it's gonna still be sitting in your file, but it's gonna be waiting down here for the front desk to cancel it.
Okay.
Okay, so if you see that down at your managed transactions and it's there for a couple days, call the front desk and ask them to cancel it. Okay? Basically, all we do is we go in, open it,
Okay.
approve the cancellation. Okay?
Okay.
So that's how you get rid of them.
I think this is the last one. And we cannot see the files that we already closed, right? I mean,
Yes,
because I couldn't find, I mean,
That's
when
fine.
it's closed,
that's fine.
let's say
That's
2-3
why you're
weeks
here.
later,
It's to-
and then
to
I
find
can't
stuff.
find it.
Okay, so once your files have closed, you go to Access Archives.
Okay.
Okay? And it's gonna open, and then all of them should be there, and then you would do your search this way also. Okay? Now, once your files have closed, you can actually get all the documents out of that. So let's say I want to get documents out of that, I go over here to download, select, and then I either select all documents in the file, or I would recommend checklist documents, because those are the ones that are gonna make the sense. You click that, and once you click that, it does a download in a zip file of all the documents that are attached to your checklist. Okay? You can't do that until it's archived.
Okay.
So if you're working in a non-archive file, you would just have to download documents individually, okay? If you have a canceled file, and for some reason you need to go back and find something in it, you go over here to canceled files, click on that. And there you are, and there's the file we just canceled. Okay? And that's all, you don't have to have it, it looks a little different, but you all can search, I can search everybody's, but you can search all of yours that you have access to.
I wish I can have all of those.
Yeah, be pretty productive, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay,
You probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah, of course.
you call loading a Marcus. So, any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Back on what you said, if you've sent, like, say, the Avid, and you still haven't gotten it back, you need those 3 requests, is it okay to, like, when you're sending the second request to the other agent, to put the SkySlope address on there? On the actual email? Because you said upload it onto a PDF so that you see the communication. But if you are CCing the property address email
No.
on there, would you get that email as well?
Not as a PDF, it would just show that
So
email.
you want the actual PDF uploaded onto
Right, and
SkySlope?
basically what I'm asking for is you're in looking at an email.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever this email is right here. find something that, you know what, I'm gonna go on the other account. So, I want that email, and I want to put this email into SkySlope. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on print, and then I'm going to, in most of the newer operating systems, they have what is called,
Same as PDF, it's there.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, I get that part.
Yeah, and
So
then
you just
click
want it as a PDF uploaded
Yes.
onto SkySlope?
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay,
I want everyone to understand.
Oh.
Yeah, you've got, if you just send an email in, it's in SkySlope in the log,
uh-huh,
but it is next to impossible to see it.
Right.
And I need it in the checklist. Okay, so you would do that, you send emails 3 times. You need to make sure that your emails are detailed, all right? So say I'm looking for are you the buyer, represent buyer or seller?
And which one?
On the one that you're not getting the agent.
It's the buyer on that one.
Okay, so say, I am looking for you to complete my buyer copy of the AVID, which I sent to you on whatever date, all right? And then put that in there, first request. And then the second time, you can say the same thing again, second request, third time, third request, okay? And I see that spread out over time. I mean, if you send all 3 on one day, I'm gonna say, let's give it another try.
yeah, give it 24 hours before
Can-
you ask again.
Can we use text messages for that too? And put the screenshot in the SkySlope?
You can,
I think we can.
you can. I'm not real thrilled with them because they don't always show the dates. I get text messages sometimes that it's hard to figure out what the dates are. But if
Okay,
you
it has
send,
to show the date.
it needs to show the date that it came, and the date and the information, and make sure your text is detailed, whether you're sending an email or a text. Make sure you're specifically, because I get some where they'll send emails and say, please send me all the documents that you haven't signed yet. And that's not really getting me too excited. The other thing, as a tool, and this is where an email will work better than a text, is when you send that email, let's say you had an AVID, you had the SPSA, and you're still looking for your VP, okay? You send that specifically requesting those 3, and you also attach those 3 as documents, okay? So that agent has no excuse, oh, I'll look for that when I get back, and I can't. If you send them the darn docs all over again, the chances of getting it signed are better, okay? We have to make it easier for the other side, even if they're not making it easy for
Even
us.
if they have to do the document, they send it over. So.
Right, if you're sending them back their document,
Yeah.
it's fine, still do it, okay?
Okay.
All right. Send me texts with questions. I know people say hi. I don't work in the office all the time, but I follow my texts religiously, okay? All right, thank you very much. You've all signed in on the sign-up sheet, right?
Yes.
Because all the new agents, I gotta check you off as being